Hello again, witchy people. This will be the introduction to bone casting. So this video will be used at the beginning of every video that I use to explain the interpretations of the bone cast, because obviously how each bone reacts with the other bones will give you your reading. So I've actually got mine in this tiny little case at the moment. So it might be a little bit bundled up, but we shall have a look. Okay, so here we have my cloth with the sections 1, 2 and 3. So this section number 3 is the basics of life. It represents earth. It is love, hate, trust, deceit, human nature and a longer time frame. Number 2 represents plants. It's things in life that evolve and grow, such as work, health, finance, your intellectual development, family relationships. It's about growth and planning for the future. Finally, we have section number 1. Number 1 represents animals. It's vibrancy, aspirations and goals, immediate action and vitality. It represents immediate concerns such as possessions, ambition, travel. It is the urgent and what is foremost, especially in the querent's mind. Unfortunately, it often blinds the person because of the urgency of this section. It often blinds the person or the querent to the more important but less urgent concerns of 3 and 2. So that's the cloth. Now let's go on to the bones, or in my case, the wood. So we've gone through what each one means, and I will go through it slightly again, and then I will go through what it means when the bones are crossed over. So number 1, and obviously if this was a bone, the domed end would represent the tip or the pointing end. And you see I've made mine out of wood. I do show that. If you look up the video you will see how I made these. So number 1, it's hidden strengths. It's things that are maybe not at first evident in the reading. It's got a kind of relaxed and friendly sort of aura to it. It's very positive, especially when pointing to the same section as number 2. Now number 2 represents endurance. It denotes the importance of the reading, especially when in conjunction with number 1. Together, these two, if pointing in the same segment, can lessen completely and reduce the impact of negativity that number 3 can have. Now 1 and 2 together represent stability. Okay, so number 3. Now this is a bone. I'm going to call them bones. Okay, it's a bone of caution. It denotes possible problems and areas where there are possible problems. Now if number 1 and number 2 are pointing into different sections, then the power of negativity increases even more with this bone. Now if 3 and 4 point to the same segments, once again the negativity is multiplied. This brings us on to 4. Now 4 is quite an interesting bone. It's the least powerful of all the bones, and yet it gives more importance to all the other bones. So if it points to the same section as another bone, it increases the power of that bone. In this way, it provides us with a focus for the reading. So if it points to the same section, say as bone number 2, then it increases the importance of number 2 and what this means in the reading. Number 4 it reveals the more transient and changeable aspects of life, and therefore the more changeable aspects in the reading. So now we go on to what it means if when you throw the bones, they are crossed over in any way. Now, if you have more than one bone crossing another, so you get a bit of a jumble, discard the reading and start again. It's okay to have 2 lots of separate bones crossed, but it's not okay to have, for instance, this, where you have more than one bone crossing over another single bone. So now we're going to go on to what each bone means when it crosses over another, starting with number 1. So if number 1 is crossed over the top of number 2, then the long-term positive aspects of the reading are somewhat increased. If you question where you are in your life, in any aspect of your life, whether it be your life in general, work, home, love, and you feel that you may need a change in any area, this crossing of the bones adds strength to your convictions that change is the right thing to do. It may take a while, but the outcome will be positive and good. So now we have bone number 1 crossed over number 3. Now, when number 1 is over the top of number 3, it cancels out the worries and concerns that 3 brings up. It calms a situation, and it teaches you to listen to your own instincts rather than advice from others. Next we have 1 crossing over 4. If 1 crosses over 4, you must take note of the very last aspect of the reading. Usually number 4 has the least significance in a reading, but in here the final words may be more important and of more influence over what your plans should be than the rest of the reading. Not to discard the rest of the reading, but this actually makes it, this part, the very last part, more important. And what I shall do is, when I tell you what each reading means, the basics of it, you will understand that the last sentence is going to be the most significant from every reading if the bones are crossed 1 over the top of 4. So now we go on to bone number 2. So if number 2 is crossed over the top of number 1, this adds such a positive influence to the entire reading that many of the negative influences of 4 are obscured. Even the negative influences of 3 can be obscured, but it takes away a lot of the negativity and therefore the worry in a reading. Now if 2 is crossed over 3, they kind of cross each other out. This is a positive and a negative crossing each other out. Now this may indicate some disturbance or even a battle within or between the indicated pointers. So depending on which segment they're pointing to. But it must be said that eventually negativity will lose out and a positive outcome will happen. So next we go on to 2 over 4. Now 2 over 4 shows indecisiveness. It can mean that there is no answer to the question. And if really important decisions are urgently needed, perhaps it's best to cast again. Okay, on to bone 3. 3 over 1. It's nervousness covering strength. It's a sign of caution that you should beware with long-term results and the implications of long-term results within this reading. 3 reduces to some degree the positive and long-term considerations of 1. Now we go on to 3 over 2. Now when 3 covers over 2, this is where caution, which is 3, becomes a slow and steady influence over the reading. So it gives you more power for common sense and a positive outcome. It's not a negative part of the reading. It's where caution becomes useful and therefore should be taken heed of. Caution will give you a positive result in this case. 3 over 4. This is caution. This is beware. It is a warning not only on how to interpret the reading, but how the querent should proceed with their plans. It's telling you that things may not be quite as they appear, and you should really look carefully into what your plans are and how you should proceed. On to number 4. Now number 4 over number 1. Now there are 2 interpretations of this, if this happens. The first is you should consider how 4, although the weakest of all the bones, can alter and modify a reading. It represents unexpected change. The second way of interpreting it is that 4 will diminish the positivity of 1. And the questioner, the querent, must really consider carefully the negative outcomes of their endeavours and how that will impact their life and how they will handle this situation. It's not don't do it. It's if you do it and it doesn't turn out exactly how you expect, how will you cope with that, and what plans do you have in place to help you cope with that? Next, 4 over 2. 4 can only be lifted by the positive strength of 2. There's no real change or influence. Rather than the negative impact of 4 pressing down 2, 2 lifts. So it increases the strength almost of 2. It lifts, the 2 will lift the negativity away. 4 covering 3. This is probably one of the worst parts of a reading. It's a show of worry, and there should be concern over the general meaning of the reading. These 2 crossed over crosses out any other influences to other bones. It cancels out the benefits of other bones pointing to the same areas on the cloth, the same segments. So it is to show caution, but to have real concern over, are you in the right frame of mind to even accept what this casting will tell you? So that's what happens if any of the bones are crossed. Now, each way a person interprets the cast is unique. And sometimes it will seem that the message you are being given by the cast and the bones does not have any significance to the querent or any of the questions asked. But before dismissing completely the cast, ask yourself and ask the querent, is there something being revealed here that is so unexpected that you would wish to ignore it? Is there something being revealed that you must find the courage to see? There is a question being answered here that may not have actually been asked out loud. So there you have it, how to read the bones and how they are crossed. So next, I think there are 81 different ways of the cast coming out. And what I've just explained about how the bones are crossed and what they mean and what each piece means will be played in front of every casting video. So the cast becomes a secondary part almost to this first introduction. You need this introduction. So you don't have to keep referring to it back here. It will be in front of every single casting video that I do. And hopefully you'll be able to do this. It is quite a simple casting technique. It doesn't seem simple right at the moment, but I promise you it is. Once you get all of that in your head, just make simple notes and you'll get on with it fine. So there we go. That is the introduction to what the bones mean. But once again, it doesn't have to be bones. You can cast in any way you like, and you can use what you like, and you can use as many pieces as you like, and you must interpret them how you feel. You use your intuition, so use your heart and your gut rather than your brain. Some people, it's just not for them. Any form of bone or collection casting isn't for them, but for some people it's quite a relaxing and positive way of doing a reading. That's it for now. This will become clearer, I promise, as you do castings. It will make a lot more sense. Thank you for watching. Bye for now, witchy people.